Okay, so there's a comparison side by side of the for each down here and the iterator up there. Let's get rid of a book if it was written in a certain year. Public void remove books written in, or I guess published. Okay. I'm going to use an iterator. So step 1, I had to import it. Step 2, create the iterator. Every time I need an iterator in a method, I'm going to create a new one. Do not create an instance variable. It's just like if you went out for dinner with a bunch of friends, you don't share your napkin. That's gross. Get your own napkin. Same with here. You want an iterator? Get your own. So there's my iterator. It's ready to go. I'm going to set up the basic loop while it has next. Always do this next step. Book equals it.next. Always capture it in a local variable. Now I can ask, was this book written in this year? If so, ask the iterator to remove it without knowing the index or anything. If book, the year published, is equal to the year I'm looking for, my parameter, which should be final. Don't want to change my parameters. If the year in which the book is published is equal to the year I'm looking now, it dot remove. Look how simple that is. Perfect. So let's just confirm that it's removed. Before we remove it, removing there. Let's try it. So here's all the books I have. Let's get rid of books written in 1988. There'll be no more brief history of time and no more it. Looks good. Let's display all the books that are left. They're all there except the 2 that we removed. This is working. Let's make it a little neater. So I could try something like this. Some of you have been sending emails asking how to do this. Did I find anything? So at the end I can say, sorry, there were no books published that year. If I found a match, let's remove it and keep track of it. And then at the end of the loop I could say, if found is still false, or if not found. That means I never ran this. That means this never happened. I can say there are no books written in the parameter. Let's try that. Remove books published in the year 2000. There are no books written in the year 2000. Remove books published in the year 2013. Removing Dr. Sleep, and it doesn't say there are no books. And Dr. Sleep is gone. There it is. Let's try something else. Public book array. Get all books written by. Look at that. You give me an entire author object, and I'll give you an array of all the books written by them. So for example, there are 3 Stephen King books in our code, actually. It, Dr. Sleep, The Shining. So that should return an array of size 3. Let's try that. Get all books written by. Okay, first thing is I don't know how big to declare this array. So I'm going to keep track. Int number of matches, 0. Now we could, since we're getting used to it, let's iterate through things twice. Actually, we don't have to do that. Let's use a for each loop, since all we're doing the first time is counting. For book in books, if book make your parameters final, they shouldn't be changing. If book dot get author dot, this is not a great way of doing things, but it's okay. If the first name of the authors of the book is the same as our author first name, and the last names also match. Then I could say the number of matches just went up, didn't it? We just found one. Now, if the number of matches is greater than 0, so there's something in there, let's create our array. I could do it this way. 2 different lines is nicer. Now I know how big to make it. So let's say what happens here, we have no matches. I pass in the author Stephen King. I go through every book and I ask the author of the book, is your first name, regardless of case, same as, let's say, Stephen? Pretend I'm passing in Stephen King. And is your author's last name the same as King, regardless of case? If so, that's a match. That will go up to 3. 3 is bigger than 0. Declare an array of matching books, which I'm going to return. My matching books is a new book array size 3, for example. Now we need to populate it. Since this is a lesson on iterators, I'll iterate through it. Same thing I'm always going to do when I'm dealing with an iterator. It's called the standard idiom, just the same way of doing things over and over and over. Book B equals the next book. Matching books. Now I need an index. Int matching index. So the new array, this array goes from 0 to 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But my new arrays only go through 0, 1, and 2, so I need another array. So 0, the 0th author in the new array, is equal to this book. And then move on. At the very end of all this, by the time I'm inside here, if I had matches, I return my new array, and I'm out of here. Return also ends the method. If I have no matches, the number of matches is 0, then I could say return null. And I'll make a note in here, so people who work with my code, at return an array of all books written by the author at param author, the author whose books we are returning an array of. Null if no matches. Let's try this, compile this. I have 7 books in my bookstore. Now I'm trying to get an array of all the matching books by Stephen King. I'll make an author here. The case should not matter. My author is that thing. I have to think about this. We've got the 3. Oh, I didn't ask if it's a matching book. Terrible. Here I'm just assigning everybody as a match. I have to ask while it has next. Book equals next book. And then I was just shoving everything into my new array. What I should be saying, if I have to re-find all the matches again to shove into the new matching array. Okay, so let's see if this works. That should be correct. Need to make my author Stephen King in funny case. That's okay. My author is that Stephen King thing. I got an array returned. If I look at it, there's 3 elements returned. It, 1988, by Stephen King. Dr. Sleep, 2013, by Stephen King. The Shining, 1979, by Stephen King. It works. I could also have returned an array list of matches or something like that too. So let's just quickly go through this. In Java, collections are sets, lists, and maps. Iterators will work with sets, lists, and maps. So even though these data structures are very different, the iterator works the same. So it's very nice. Do not say iterator it equals new iterator. It's always the name of your collection.iterator. The ones that we care about are has next, next, remove. The remove is a good reason to use this thing because I don't care about the index or anything, so it's very easy to use. Keep doing it this way. Declare a local iterator while it has next. Grab the object or the reference it.next, and then inside this little while loop you talk about the local variable, so person P in this case, person P, and you don't talk about the person collection in here, just the local variable you grabbed as the next reference. That matches my little drawing I drew for you earlier. Why would you use an iterator when it seems relatively complicated for and for each loop? Well, for removing. And if you get a very complex collection, an iterator makes it very easy to use still, the iterator pattern. And that summarizes what we need to do. So now you can work on your lab, and I'll send a quiz later next week for you as well.